Pete Hegseth did his first interview since becoming Secretary of Defense today, and he did it with his friend and former co-host Will Cain, who, like Hegseth, has left the curvy couch on weekends and is now in the Cavuto slot at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox News Channel. Gave him a 10-minute interview, at the end of which Will Cain said, I still get the first interview. This doesn't count because it was only 10 minutes. So that's a home court advantage. But I want to play you, number 16, one soundbite from the interview just to get a sense of how Pete Hegseth, fully installed in the office now, seems to be feeling his oats. This is Pete Hegseth talking about General Milley and the efforts he is making on behalf of President Trump to get back some of what they feel they lost, being unhappy with Milley's conduct as chairman of the Chiefs. 16, please.
I want to ask you about General Mark Milley. His photo, his portrait was taken down at the Pentagon. He has, I think there's currently a commission being put together to explore whether or not he should be demoted. His security clearances have been taken away. Tell me the thought process, both there at the Pentagon, at the White House, with Mark Milley.
Accountability is back, Will. It's the understanding that if you actively undermined the chain of command, as General Milley did under the previous Trump administration, we are going to review those actions administratively inside the Defense Department. Mark Milley got a pardon. That's something President Biden was in his purview to do. Just like in our purview at the Defense Department, we have the opportunity to review things he may have done inside the chain of command while President Trump was president that undermined those authorities. So security clearance in the interim is revoked. There will be a review of the rank he will retain upon retirement, and he'll have that process. But this is a demonstration that inside President Trump's Defense Department, we're going to hold not just junior levels or the highest levels possible accountable for actions, and that's what the signal this is meant to send.
Well, I know
Brian, I put myself in the mind of some Democrats, and I think a lot of Democrats will find what the Secretary of Defense said there to be chilling in more ways than one. What do you think of that?
Well, I think you're absolutely going to see a lot more of that, by the way. This is a clip of a movie that you ended up showing that I bet you, Mark, we're going to see over and over and over again. And I would say with what the Secretary of Defense said, it is going to be based on what their view is on accountability. I would say, on the opposite side of that, it's going to be clear retribution. There's absolutely no way this backfires on them unless, for instance, something happens with revoking their security clearance, for example, and their security detail, and then something happens to one of them. That's all it takes, by the way, is one of them will change the conversation, because something like that will change the dynamic of this entire situation. And I'm talking about Fauci. I'm talking about the rest of them too.
Yep.
All it has to do is happen one time.
Yep. Matt Gorman, if the president or Susie Wiles called you and said, we're thinking of doing this stuff against Milley, is it good? A, is it good politics? And B, is it the right thing to do? What would your answer to those questions be?
I think two things. Number one, his first answer on this a couple days ago, I think, was pretty good. And what it was this. It was, look, talking about security, government doesn't pay for the security permanently. And you got to make that case. Only one group of people gets lifetime Secret Service protection. Yeah. Former presidents, right? Even VPs only get 6 months. You got to make that case, and you got to talk about that. Rip the Band-Aid off. That's number one. And I think what you have is your aides on background say, look, Milley's a political animal. You don't get to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs without being one, and that's fine. He was visible. He leaked. He had all these memos. He leaked to Peter Baker and Susan Glasser and all this other stuff, which is fine. But you know what? When you're a political animal, you got to live and die by all of that. And so if he made a bet, and if Biden had won, he'd be getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He'd be, I bet maybe even bandied about as a Secretary of Defense. Maybe. He lost. And so I wouldn't call it retribution, but just like a lot of these appointees come out on the wrong end of this sort of thing, you make that case, which is a little bit more process-based.
Is it morally right what they're doing with Milley?
In terms of what? In terms of the detail and classification?
Classification, investigating to strip him of his rank, removing his pictures from the walls, removing his security detail, and basically making his life miserable. Is that the morally right thing to do?
Here's what I would say on that. I don't know about the picture stuff. That's whatever. clearance, there's way too many people having security clearance when they no longer need it. I think that's a government-wide problem, and that's totally okay. Same with overclassification documents. That's number one. Security detail, these people should, I have no problem with it. You need to pay
Yeah.
for yourself, like Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney do. That's
Yeah.
fine. Pay for yourself. And the retribution stuff I would spin. But yeah, I think he has to make a better case about it.